come and lie on your back. And the lesson for today, I'm going to start you right now on your back, but then you're going to have a little bit of a surprise. So the lesson will be on your back. So we're going to have you rest, begin your own little scan, so that you just notice. And before you get too terribly comfortable, I'm going to ask you to come to stand. And you come to stand. And then once you do come to your standing, we're going to scan a little differently. So the first thing is, it's your feet that are in contact with the floor. So pay attention to your feet. Now there is movement. It's called postural sway. I often suggest when you come to stand, you stand more on a firmer surface, your floor, versus a mushy, comfy mat. And if you're not sure, then compare. And you'll understand why I say a firmer floor, if you have one. Carpeting is fine. So you begin to notice how you stand on your feet. There is movement. But where does it seem more of your weight is? Is it on one leg or both? Back on the heels? More towards the outside or an inside of a foot? The ball of the foot? Are the toes grabbing? Are they soft? And now often, as you're standing in the vertical, we think of our spine as the back of our spine. So begin to think about your standing, where you rest on your feet, and the back of your spine. And if you think of the back of your spine, the back of the vertebra, just notice how you stand on your feet. But you know something? The vertebral column, it's a column. And so if I had you shift your attention not to the back of your spine, but more the front of your spine. Now the front of the vertebra would be the body of the vertebra, where the discs are, and they rest behind your sternum and behind your visceral belly, all the way into the pelvic bowl. But now think of the front of your spine instead of the back, the spinous process. And it runs really through the center of you. And see if that changed the way you stand. Or is it difficult to think about the front of your spine? You only think of the back. And then begin to dance a little bit in your awareness, your mind's eye. You're thinking of the back of your spine, and then shift to think to the front of your spine. Notice if it makes a difference, or you stand differently on your feet. And then just walk around a little bit, maybe shift your weight from one foot to the other. Notice, can your arms rest comfortably along your sides? Or is that something that's not so comfortable? And then come back and stand for a moment. And let your arms rest beside you. And now begin to make fists of each hand. And then you release. So you're standing. And you make fists. And then you release. And begin to pay attention. If you need to do it with one hand and then the other hand, that's fine too. Pay attention to what happens in your hands when you make the fist, in your wrists, your forearms, your elbows, your upper arms, your shoulders. That entire area we call our shoulder girdle. It involves your chest also, your jaw, and your tongue. Is there a different sensation when you make the fists in your hands and then you release? Do you notice a difference? Is it subtle? Is there a global contraction that not only initiated in your fists, but traveled all the way up into these whole upper areas of your torso I was clarifying? Through the arms, into your chest, into your jaw, your mouth, your tongue, your eyes, all of you. And then you let it go. But before you come lie on your back, I want you to sit. Come to sit on your mat. And although the lesson dictates a specific way, I want you to sit where you're comfortable. Good. Now from here, imagine in front of you, there is this cool, or maybe you want it to be warm right now, stream with mountain water. And you want to take your right hand, first your right hand, and cup your right hand in such a way that you want to bring some water from that cool stream up to take a sip. And go ahead and do it. And notice what you do. And does that water trickle out between your fingers so that you have to move faster? Do you just bring that hand, your right hand, to your mouth, or do you bring your mouth to your hand? How do you do it? Did you get the water in your mouth or did it trickle all over you? And then change your hands. Do it with your left hand. You want to scoop up that water because you're so thirsty. You've been hiking or lying in the sun, whatever you've been doing, that you want to then nurture yourself. How differently did you do it with your left hand compared to your right? And if I said, do it with both hands, would you get more water? By the time you get the water to your mouth or your mouth to the water, did you actually get a drink of water? Good. Great. You've been great sports. Now roll onto your back and rest. And because you were already on your back briefly, as you've returned to your back, feel what it's like. How quickly do you settle in? Or was there work there, making fists, imagining being like a mime drinking water out of a cool stream? Did you get wet? Are you all wet on the front of you from that cold water? And listen to your breathing. Your hands are resting alongside you. And very slowly, with your right index finger, it's your right index finger, that's it. But is it that? It's just it? Begin to bend, flex your right index finger. It means there are knuckles there. And you release. It's a really gentle movement. The right index finger, you flex it and you let go. And you're doing this in such a way, when you let go, you sort of extend it a little bit. And you want to do it several times, but slowly, so you can listen. Which knuckle or knuckles of your right index finger did you bend? Was it a smooth, easy folding, bending, and then opening? Was it one knuckle? Was it 2 or 3 of the knuckles of those 4 longer fingers? And did any of the other fingers on your right hand respond? Come along. Participate. It wasn't your intention, but they did. Now slowly, let go of the right index finger with this exploration, but now with your right third finger. And it's the same exploration. As you go to flex or bend, is it a specific knuckle or is several knuckles? And is it smooth and easy, the folding and then the opening of the third finger? And do any of the other fingers do something? Now, what if I said, do your pinky finger, the right pinky finger? And just let it be smooth and soft and easy so you can listen. And just notice which knuckle, how many of the knuckles of that finger, and did any other fingers come along? Or how far up through you did you feel the trail of this movement? And then
you're beginning to buzz, the sound is beginning to buzz.
Alrighty, hold on a moment, I'll attend to this. Just keep this exploration of each finger on your right hand to notice if certain fingers start to come along. Make sure that you've done each of the fingers, including the fourth finger, as well as the thumb. And notice of some of those fingers, I'm pretty assured that other fingers on your right hand started to come along. They folded a little too. Or you had to do something to restrict them, differentiate them from moving. Now again with your right hand. Slowly imagine between your thumb and the right index finger, there's a little bead of sand. And begin to roll it between your index finger and thumb. And as you roll it, is one finger doing the rolling and the other one is just passive? Or are both thumb and index finger rolling this little piece of sand? And in which direction? Are they going clockwise? Can you reverse and go the opposite direction? So now use this pattern with the different fingers, maybe the thumb and the third finger, that bead of sand, maybe it's a little piece of caviar, but something tiny. And you want to roll it between your fingers. These finger pads have so many sensory nerve endings that feel the grain of sand or whatever it is you're selecting. And which finger initiates the rolling? Are both rolling that piece of sand? And which direction? And then you reverse the direction. And you do this with each finger on your right hand, and probably it's the thumb that couples with each of those other four fingers. And again, you're noticing as you now give the task of these two fingers to roll the sand, is it always the same finger that wants to lead the rolling and the other one joins it? Or are both rolling that piece of sand at the same time? And if there's a circle going on, not just a line up and down or side to side, can you reverse the direction? Do that with each coupling of the thumb and one of the other right fingers to discern what that's like. And then begin to pay attention. Well, notice what you feel all the way up through the fingers, the hand, the wrist, the forearm, as far up as you suspect, wow, there's a little trailing of movement, of sensation. And when you've completed the right hand with this exploration, you just pause for a moment. Then you come back. And now very slowly, with the pads of your right fingers, there are 5 of them, the thumb and then the 4 other fingers, begin to bring them a little close together. They don't have to touch, but they're going to come towards each other and then they're going to go away. Now, you can think of a gentle little octopus. I haven't seen the movie yet, Octopus, My Teacher, but I've got it on my reserve. As if those finger pads are coming towards each other and then they're moving away. And for all of you, but it's the right hand, for all of you that know Feldenkrais enough, it's the bell hand it's being asked. That soft, easy, comfortable of a little bit of a folding of the fingers coming towards and away. And again, begin to pay attention. Do I feel something else other than just these pads of my fingers coming towards and away? Make it really very easy, soft, pleasant. It's almost trance-like. Begin to pay attention. Do you feel anything through your wrist? Or the heel of your hand, or the pad, the ball of your hand, the palm of your hand, or your forearm bones, or up into your elbow, or that whole trail we listened to before. You just notice. And then, can you begin to make a movement with your right hand as if you were going to think, I'm going to be a little bit of a magician. And I'm going to pull with my fingers a little silk scarf out of a magic hat. And you want to begin to pull a little bit of this silk scarf out. And then you move your fingers to go a little bit back into the hat and pull out a little bit more. That's it. And you can do whatever makes it feel simpler. How much pull of that silk scarf can you lift before you have to go back into the hat to get more? Does your wrist start to fold or open? Your elbows start to bend? Yes. You move. Because if you really had the intention that you're going to pull this silk scarf out of this rabbit hat, you're a magician. How would you do it? And again, that still soft, easy, available way of organizing through your hand to delicately pull this silk scarf. Good. And then just rest that for a moment. And as you rest, see if you can discern a difference between your right arm, your right side, compared to your left. You just notice if there's a difference. Slowly begin to bring your right elbow to bend so that your right forearm and hand are in the vertical. And then begin to play with your right hand, the wrist. You could think of being Vanna White and you want to indicate to somebody over here, look at that. Maybe you want to start being like a conductor and very slowly conducting as if you had a little baton. Where would you hold the baton? In which fingers? To conduct the orchestra. And feel the movement. Remember, you could be like a periscope and you could rotate your hand around the elbow and feel the sensations in that right forearm. And if you are making like a periscope, rotating, notice if in one direction your fingers fold a little bit more and in the other direction your fingers go from folding to start to open a little bit. It's just play. And then bring your right arm down to rest for a moment. slowly, begin to take your right hand that's resting beside you on the floor and sweep your right hand over to your right leg. And then slide your right hand up onto your right thigh and sweep it across your pubic area over to your left hip. And then slide it back, but stay in contact with you. Now, if you were a blind person who learned how to read Braille, or you were going to examine something because you visually couldn't see it, but you could feel it, use the sensory nerve endings of the pads of your right fingers to explore you as you begin to slide your right hand across you, traveling up your right leg, across you to the left, and maybe begin to do a little bit of a zigzag of your right hand. Once you've moved over to the left, stay on you, cross over your tummy to the right, and then slide over to the left again, progressively moving up your torso until finally, where it's easy enough, your right hand could come to rest toward your left shoulder. But take time, zigzag, don't just go there right away, because you're exploring the turf, the terrain. And you feel these finger pads are so sensitive. Maybe you feel the quality of the clothes you're wearing. Eventually, you'll make it toward your left shoulder. And then journey with your right hand across your left collarbone, maybe to your sternum, maybe over to your right collarbone, where it's available, and then begin to find, could I cup my chin with my right hand so that my thumb would be on one side of my chin and my four fingers would be on the other side. And once you've cupped your hand to your chin, your right hand to your chin, like a blind person, begin to explore the contours of your chin and slowly of your face, of your jaw, your cheekbone. It's not just skin, tissue, there's bone there, your skeleton. And begin to explore your face. Maybe you go to your ear. Can you also find the left ear, your jawline, your brow of your eye? That eventually you might circle your right hand around from the left side of your face to the crown of your head, to the right side, and trail back down, so that eventually your right arm is resting long beside you again. And then when you're ready again, now instead of thinking maybe this zigzagging across your torso, begin to sweep, but slowly, your right hand up alongside your right thigh, across you over to your left hip, and now begin to explore along the left side, the ribs. Can you feel the ribs? Up to your underarm, over your left shoulder, up through what we call the traps or the side of my left neck, up the left side of my face, and over the crown of my head, and circling back down to the right side of my face, my head, down the right side, and rest that right arm again. You're getting to know yourself. And it is a lesson, we could say, in palpation. You're palpating you. The next time you make this circling using your right arm, your right fingertips, exploring you, coming up the right leg, across you to the left, up the left side of you, and you come to the left side of your shoulder, your neck, your face. When you come further up, as if you would come to the crown of your head, could you begin to elongate your right arm up over you and then cross it over to the right and find the floor and slide your right arm back down. And you've completed a circle. Good. Now, I hope you recognize that if you would like at times to bring your feet to stand or have them long, that's a choice you make because of what you are sensing and feeling within. Do not wait for the instruction to tell you you should or it's okay. You're just listening to you, being comfortable, just like you would make yourself comfortable if you got cold. And then you rest again and make a comparison. My right side, not just my right fingers, my right hand, my right wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder. The entire right side of you, compare it to the left. And it might even be the left side of your face compared to the right side of your face. The right nostril compared to the left. Just notice if there's a subtle difference and what it might be for you. And it's also okay if you go, I don't notice anything yet. Slowly. Can you begin this exploration with your left fingers? Remember, the very first one we did was with the arms resting beside you. You're now going to begin to bend, flex the left index finger. You just notice, I'm going to do it on my left side now. And you just notice, do I flex one knuckle, two knuckles? Remember, there are 3 knuckles on these 4 longer fingers. And then you do that with each respective finger. But you're discerning not only how you fold the knuckles and you open them, even if it's one, but you also start to notice when I do it, do the other fingers start to spontaneously activate? And do they need to? Or in order to keep them quiet, do I have to impose a constraint that says don't move? I hold them with my thumb, or I constrain them, pushing them into the floor. What do? Which fingers are more active to come along? They don't want to be left out. And often it's the 4th finger that couples itself with the 5th and the 3rd more so than others. There was a logic I heard, I don't know whether it's true or not, or an old wives' tale, that's why the 4th finger, which is called the annular, it means the ring finger. That's why we put the wedding bands or the engagement rings on that finger. It's the least used unless you are a musician or someone who is skilled in using your fingers to articulate. A sculptor would. And remember, not only did you fold the fingers, but then there was that bead of sand, or maybe it's a little pearl, whatever it is that gets your attention, that you want to roll it between the thumb and each respective finger. First you roll it. Does one finger do the rolling and the other one is passive? Can both be rolling? And then you change the direction if they're rolling. Or if they were just sliding up and down, could you slide side to side? And then remember, there was the bell hand. The bell hand. The folding of the pads of the fingers to come towards each other. But it's the palm of the hand that starts to cup, as if you had, this tiny little robin's egg in it. You wanted to be so delicate. And then you opened. And then there were some other explorations we did too. We did the pulling the silk scarf out of the rabbit's hat, the magician's hat. See, I didn't say pulling the rabbit out. Just pulling that silk scarf. And notice then how the movement of your fingers, your hand, your arm, forearm become bigger. And then we played with the idea of, oh, what if I brought that left elbow to stand, the forearm and hands was relatively in the vertical, and I started to play here as if I was going to be, oh my goodness, Vanna White, or I was going to rotate the arm, the fingers, the hand around the elbow. Yeah, that's it. And then rest the left arm for a moment. Now, you probably already have been comparing, was one hand, fingers, arm a little easier, softer? And now slowly begin to sweep your left hand on the floor towards you and away. But keep the fingers, the pads of the fingers on the floor. Until if you're sweeping it further away from you, maybe you notice there's a moment you would want to rotate your arm. You're just as if a blind person. You're getting to know the area around you. Where are you in space? And then slowly, as you're sliding your left hand around the floor, I think of the Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. Could you slide your left hand closer to you so that you could begin the journey of traveling up your left thigh and first cross over to the right and then do a zigzagging? Why a zigzagging? What happens when you want to move your left hand towards the right of you, but it's still feeling you, and then to the left and to the right? Where do certain joints have to bend? And you keep moving up. Or you think about somebody who had a tummy ache, how they want to rub their tummy. Or what if you had this really nice fleece on and it's so soft, or you had velvet or satin on and you just wanted to caress it because it felt so good. Eventually, you find the journey that your left hand would eventually come to the right shoulder. And then maybe your left hand comes from your right shoulder across the right collarbone to come hold your chin, where the thumb and the forefingers would be in opposition to the chin. You know, there are men that have the beards, and they do that with their thumb and the forefingers. They just stroke their chin into their beard. You're doing the same thing. That's it. And then from that, begin to use your left hand to traverse around your face, like a blind person, feeling your bone structure. And you know something? It doesn't matter that we have these two eyes, these two noses, our mouth, our two ears. They're different. The shape of our eye, the shape of our nostrils, the shape of our ears, our cheekbones, they're the same, and yet they're subtly different from one side to the other. And I'm not talking about, oh, if you're a boxer and you had a broken nose. I'm talking about everybody. It's not an exact mirror image. So get curious so you can be clear on your structure. And therefore, for those of you that want to create this hands-on in Feldenkrais, you get more attuned, honing this skill, the sensitivity. You don't have to push or poke. You're soft. And feel how you, the softer you are, you engage yourself, you're starting to like, oh gosh, this is nice. So that you outline your jaw, your cheek, your nose, the orbit of your eye, your ear. All of these wonderful areas that you could caress and get to know until you circle your left arm around you, and you bring it back to the left to rest. When you're ready, you begin again. And then remember, one of the variations was now you just sweep the left arm onto you, over to the right, up the right side, because now you're exploring, oh, the ribs. Oh, my ribs. Can I feel my ribs? And you continue to circle. Include once you complete the ribs and your collarbone on the right side. Maybe you come up the right side of your face. And you circle around and you go back down the left side. What else is moving? I mean, are your ribs on one side fanning apart and the other one accordioning a little bit? Is your pelvis moving? Is your contact with the floor moving as you explore? Is your head moving? Or do you not move because I didn't say move? And then remember, there was another variation that as you begin to traverse your left hand up the left side, over to the right, slowly up the right, and then you come to the right side of your face, and you eventually get to the top of the crown of your head. You extend your left arm up as if it was reaching for something. And then it comes back to find the floor. And at some point, maybe the back of your left hand or the palm of your left hand meets the floor, and it circles back around onto the left side on the floor beside you to rest. Good. Good. Now, once you've completed your last circle, you just rest. Both arms will be resting beside you. Now, slowly, begin with one arm and then add in the other. So one hand, which one are you going to start with, crosses onto its thigh, crosses over to the other thigh, and then traverses up that side. When does the other hand join? So that you eventually will have two arms exploring, crossing over each other, coming up, and then extend, circle around, come back to the floor, and you rest. That's it. Lovely. But you rest. After you've done one, you rest, and then you do it again. But you can do it again the same pattern, which meant you initiated with a specific hand. But when you do it a third or fourth time to learn something, initiate with the other hand, and then listen to the timing when the opposite hand comes along. It starts to say, it's time to come. And you're caressing, you're enjoying the sensation of the fingers feeling. But they can also, well, at times they want to do something. Now, if I asked you, does this seem like a function any of you might do on a daily basis? Because I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, including myself, of those on the floor I see, each and every one of you probably has a top that in order for you to have gotten it on or off, how did you do it? So now think, you have layers of clothes on. And as you've crossed one hand up your thigh and over to the side, you did it because maybe you wanted to take a hold of your t-shirt or your sweatshirt. And then the other hand crosses over, and maybe it wanted to take a hold of the corner of your t-shirt or sweatshirt that you would begin, if you were standing or sitting, to disrobe that sweatshirt or t-shirt. I'm not saying do it, but imagine it's a function. How would you get your t-shirt on or off? and begin to explore each time you do it the hand that initiates as if you were a comedy act. Oh, I've seen this. I saw it happen as a comedy act at the airport. This woman's bag was too heavy, and she didn't want to pay the extra $25 for that luggage. So she said, wait a minute. She pulled the suitcase over, she unlocked it, and she started putting layers and layers of clothes on. Well, now imagine you're taking layers and layers of those clothes off. There you go. And just feel there's one variation of how you organize with one arm initiating or then the other that feels simpler for you. But is anything else moving? Like, for instance, if you wanted to have your feet stand, would they push or help? Or does your pelvis move? Or ribs or shoulders? And then leave that alone and rest. Just notice how you feel your contact. Now, at the same time, can you begin to sweep both hands? You might think that they're both going to grab the opposite corner of a sweatshirt or a t-shirt, but they start at the same time. And be truthful. Did they really start at the same time, or did one lag behind? That's it. And just feel how your spine, your shoulder blades, it's moving. Maybe even if your feet are standing, they pushed a little bit. They helped. That's it. And then when you've completed that, just lie and rest again for another moment. Can you feel how your wrists, your elbows, your shoulders, your ribs, your sternum, it has to soften so that it assists the movement. Your breathing just keeps happening. You don't have to worry, did I inhale here, did I exhale? Slowly, from a place of rest, roll yourself to come back to sit. And remember that cool stream. Okay, so go ahead and cup the water. Maybe cup first with the right hand. And you really want to get the water. Now, are you going to just try to bring the water towards you, or do you bend over so that as the water hand is coming towards you, your head is going to the hand? Because anybody who really knows when you try to cup water in your hand, it squiggles out through the joints, even though you try to keep it really close. So can you fold yourself over as well as bring the hand towards you? How many of you didn't do that at first? And then do it with the left hand. And how many of you lost the water? Or it trickled down your chest? Or you got most of it? And then use both hands. I mean, you've been hiking all day and you're thirsty, and it's one of those clean glacier, cold creeks. Good. And then sit for a moment. And then, what are the different ways you've learned that you could bring yourself up to stand? That it felt, wow. And pay attention to your fingers, your hands, your wrists, your forearms, your elbows, your upper arms, your shoulders. everything. I could go a litany of naming every portion of you, but every portion of you needs to be engaged and involved. And when you come back to standing, first you notice your contact through your feet, if that feels the same or different. And then find the back of your spine and think of your uprightness through the back of your spine. And then think of the front of your spine. Truthfully, you've seen skeletons, you've seen vertebra. We're going to come up to Halloween where I don't know if they're still going to have the little skeletons hanging, but you have an image of it. Can you have an image of your own skeleton? And is there a difference if you think of the back of your spine or the front of your spine? And what if you thought of the center of your spine? And notice how you stand on your feet. And then from there, shift your weight, have a little bit of a walk. This was a lesson today by Richard Fry, the ATM number 9 in his series, Flowing and Flexible Spine and Arm.